Today, I want to talk about what do you do when you can't go no contact with a narcissist. The number one thing we want to do, the goal is always to go no contact. But in reality, that's just not always possible. If you have children together, if you own property together, if you're in the midst of a divorce or separating, if you are trying to keep the family amicable while you separate, or if it's not your romantic partner, perhaps it's a family member or a boss, and no contact is just not an option as much as you'd like it to be. How do you handle? How do you cope? How do you co-parent? What are some things that we can use to help us get around going no contact? Let's talk about that in today's video. My name is Amy and this is Narcaway. My channel is devoted to educating, supporting, and encouraging victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. Okay, so no contact is what you want to do if it's possible. If you don't have children together, if you are not married, if you don't live together, and if you don't have business together, I don't see any reason why no contact shouldn't be possible. And of course, by no contact, I mean there is no communication whatsoever. That means no talking, no seeing each other, no stalking via social media, no text messages or emails or friends relaying messages for one another. No contact is exactly what it sounds like. It is absolutely across the board, no contact. And that is the number one, hands down, best and quickest way to get over your narcissistic relationship. If you've ever heard the saying, out of sight, out of mind, then that's exactly what that is referring to. When you're in no contact, you're not seeing them, you're going to stop thinking about them as much as you are when you're constantly ruminating by looking at their Facebook or their Instagram. So when it's possible, go no contact because that is definitely your quickest route. Now, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing to do. You're going to have to use a lot of willpower and a lot of strength to refrain from checking up on them, especially if you're still in love with them or you have feelings, and especially in the beginning when you're unsure if this is really what you want to do, and when you're hoping that they're going to change and come back and things are going to be better again. But if you're ready to leave and if you know what you're dealing with, then no contact is what you need to do. Now, where that becomes a little bit more complicated is when you have children together. It's virtually impossible, especially if you have younger children, to go no contact. Now, a couple of things we can do are use family wizard apps. There are certain apps available now that are available through courts and for purchase that you can communicate with your spouse or ex-spouse regarding family matters only. And it's mediated and it's monitored and it is very matter of fact, and both parties have to be accountable for what they say. So that's an option. But aside from physical tools like apps, what can you do for yourself? Well, the number one thing is set your expectations accordingly. Do not try to control the other person. That's only going to leave you disappointed. When you set your expectations accordingly, according to their past and their past behaviors, then you know what you're going to get. And therefore, you're going to not be left with this big disappointment or this big hurt or this big upset. You already know this person. You know the tricks they play. You know that they're going to try to manipulate you. You know they're going to try to get a reaction out of you. So when you're communicating with them regarding matters of the family, know that they're going to try to twist things involving the children to get a rise out of you, to upset you, to get a reaction, just to toy with you, because that's how they get their pleasure. So when you see their name come up on a text message or an email, before you even open it, you can just have a little conversation with yourself. Okay, I know that they're going to try to get a rise out of me here. So when I see that, I'm not going to react. I'm expecting that. So you get the email, you see that they've played a little dirty trick, or they've taken a jab at you, or they've done something nasty in their narcissistic, manipulative ways, and you're going to just skim right over that and keep reading and focus on the facts. Focus on the matter at hand. You're going to just ignore all the fluff around that. Anything they say to try to hurt you, ignore it. You're just not going to react to it. You're not going to see it. It just doesn't matter anymore. Okay? So that is a huge part of co-parenting and dealing with a narcissist. And this goes not just for co-parents, but for bosses and for mothers and for siblings. When they're trying to get a reaction out of you, when they try to say something nasty, just ignore it. Because it only has power if it affects you. If it doesn't affect you and it goes right by you, it didn't happen. Because they are not getting the satisfaction and the pleasure out of it that's intended when you don't react to it. Okay, so another thing that we want to do is, and I mentioned it earlier, we don't want to control them. We don't think of ourselves as being controlling compared to them, because their control is so much more blatant and obvious. We might not even recognize that we're being controlling, but a lot of the times we are. And I can give you an example where we just want them to be nice to us. We want them to just lay off of us. Well, you know what? That's us trying to control them. Any time that we're projecting a certain type of behavior onto them, as reasonable as it seems and as humane as it may be, it's still control. You cannot tame the bear to not bite you. You can only distance yourself from the bear and put a wall between you and the bear. So don't try to convince the narcissist to treat you a certain way because you think you deserve it. Although you do, and you should never be treated poorly by anyone, you can't manage that. That's beyond you. So have your expectations set accordingly, knowing that you cannot control this person to treat you the way you want to be treated. And it's going to affect you a lot less aggressively, if you know what I mean. When they come at you, you're expecting it, so you're not going to be caught off guard. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be hurt because you see it coming. You know it's coming. And you're not going to try to change it, so you're not going to feel defeated. When we try to change somebody and they don't change, then we take that as a loss. We take that as a defeat and a rejection, and that hurts and that brings us down. If we accept them for who they are, and don't get me wrong here, when I say accept, I do not mean tolerate. This does not mean you have to take anyone's abuse. You just have to be aware that this is the way this person is. So if you can go no contact, you're putting that wall between you and the bear. You're distancing yourself. But if you can't because of children and the other reasons I mentioned, then what you want to do is not let it affect you in a manner that you feel you can change something. So another thing we can do is prepare for the backlash we might receive. Be assertive and be prepared. So again, when it comes to the children, a lot of the times narcissistic parents might try to change things on you just for the fun of it. Change a weekend, not drop them off at a certain time. They won't work with you. They're going to make things difficult. Everything always has to be a chore. Everything always has to be difficult. And that's just to make your life miserable, because they do take pleasure from that. So be prepared that they may do that. Know what your boundaries are. Know what you're willing and not willing to negotiate on. And whatever it is you have decided on, stick with it. Because they're always going to push. We know that narcissists love to move the goalposts, as they say. So you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. Don't forget, these narcissists are used to bullying you. They're used to you being manipulated and manipulatable. So you need to stand up for yourself. You need to set firm boundaries. And that's how we ended up in these relationships in the first place. It's because we had weak boundaries. We let abusive people abuse us. And it happened so subtly, we didn't realize it was happening. And we got stuck, and it was too hard to leave. And had we had these boundaries right from the get-go, we would have been very assertive and not let them cross boundaries, at which point they would have just left. The relationship would have ended because they want somebody they can bully. They want someone they can manipulate. They want someone they can push around. This is where they get their energy. This is what they feed off of. And it's never too late to set boundaries. In fact, once you leave them, that's the best time to do it, because you have nothing else to lose. Often when we're in the relationship, we don't set boundaries that we know we need to set out of fear of breaking up the relationship before we're ready to. Once we leave the relationship and we have accepted it's over and there is no repairing it, that's the time where we can set our boundaries. That's when we get to go no contact or low contact or gray rock. Whatever method we're choosing to use to cope with these creatures and to deal with them, we have to take our power back. And because we can't control them, we can control ourselves. And that's where we get to say yes and no. And this is where we really get to establish boundaries that we didn't have before. And let's embrace that, and let's use that moving forward to create distance and to create confidence. The great side effect of having strong boundaries is gaining self-esteem and self-confidence. That's a topic for another video, so we will talk about that in an upcoming video. In the meantime, I hope this helped, guys, just to give you a couple of tools and coping mechanisms that you can use while you're navigating, separating from a narcissist if you can't go full no contact. If you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up button. If you don't already subscribe, please subscribe now. Thanks for watching, guys. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.